It's awesome.
Yeah. How's it been so far?
Well, all I've done is walk from over there, so it's been fantastic.
Short but sweet.
Lovely coffee. And it's good. I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks for having me.
So, how much are we going to see your character pretty much raising?
We're shooting. Thank the Lord, we're shooting chronologically, which has never really been seen before. So we're watching the sort of development of the man or the boy becoming the man, the early stages of their relationship. So you'll follow. And as I said, we're shooting chronologically. So we are naturally, David and I are naturally discovering our voice, our heartbeat, our language. And if things have changed, I have a son myself called Alfred, who's 12. So it's a very interesting process to be growing with this boy that is extremely damaged. So we're finding our way as we go, and like with any young person, especially if he's not related specifically, like Alfred isn't to the young Master Bruce, is that you try and find a hook, you try and find a way in to their soul, into their psyche, to develop your relationship with them. And we do. We've just shot it, and it's he won't be noted for his parenting skills, but it's his way of communicating with the boy. And you see the birth. He becomes very much the enabler. I think this is something that's been overlooked in every other version, is that Alfred, if you think about it, before he goes off to Tibet or wherever he goes, that he's interested by this. So he's been enabled by Alfred. He has this sense of value anyway, that has been nurtured and been moulded by Alfred, as has every cast member in our show. Our version of Gotham is the city moulding the person as the character into who they become. And because Bruno is such a superlative writer, psychology plays a huge part in his writing. So it's based on realism. So it's something that it is a joy to go to work. I know you've heard that a million times from everyone that you ever interview, but it really is. The only frustrating thing is actually not being there more often, and it's great for me because it explodes. Our characters sort of explode by episode 8. You see, that you start to see a side. You start to see our way of communicating.
Okay.
That's all.
So, what's it that attracted you to the role initially?
Excuse me, you're joking? Seriously, really? Really asking? Oh, let me think. Absolutely everything. I mean, we didn't know. It says, you probably heard before from some of the other guys, that it was kept completely under tabs. I was given this great 2-page soliloquy to learn, but I knew it was written by someone who had an understanding of coming from London, because I come from London.
Yeah.
I was here doing elementary, and I went along to this thing, and I didn't know what it was. It went really well. They picked me up, drove me to LA, and they still wouldn't tell me what it was. They alleviate you of all your electronic devices, and then they put you in a room, and then I see what it is. It's Gotham, and I went, oh my God, now I really want it, and now I'm really terrified. And I saw Bruno walking with Danny, and they went, all right. We went in and did a workshop, and I saw it was Alfred, and it's an honour, but to begin with, it was an honour that I really don't take lightly. We have had some wonderful versions of that. He's a very loved character, and he's very loved in my country as well, because he's all of these things, and I take I feel a great sense of responsibility towards the character, and to make him, to give him a proper base, and to see his journey, where he comes from, because he has issues. He has rage issues. He has issues of guilt, all of which, he blames himself for the death of the Waynes, that he wasn't there. He then finds out that he never signed on any dotted line to be a father. So he finds himself in this extraordinary position of being made the legal guardian for a multi-billionaire. So what do you do? What do you do? He doesn't know. He's terrified. And you're beginning to see that by episode 3. He tries to play with him in sword fighting, but you start to see, hang on a minute, what's Alfred's past? Because why is he like that then? So it's a real fascinating journey, and we're shooting an episode at the moment, which I so want to tell you about. See you later.
So you said it was kind of under wraps when you went in. They took all your stuff.
Yeah.
And when you saw it with Gotham, did you already know what character they wanted you to play?
No.
Or did you have any hopes?
No, we didn't know it was even called Gotham until I got to LA. There was rumours that, because of course Bruno is someone that I've worked with Danny before. Bruno is someone that I've desperate to work with. He did that fantastic Rome, which I just adored with my friend James Purefoy. And when I saw him, that he was acting, oh gosh, sorry, taping my bum. When I saw it was Bruno, it's a cut above, really. You know that it's not going to be pulpy, it's going to be sort of serious and considered, and so it was, going back to your question, it was like absolute no-brainer. It's something that I was desperate to do. You know?
When you found out it was Gotham, you didn't know who you were playing. Did you have any?
I didn't know when I read it. I thought, God, East End London.
Were you hoping that there was any character specifically you would get to play?
I was hoping it would be Alfred.
Hoping to be Alfred. Well, that worked out.
Yeah.
Did you go back and look at any of the other performances?
I'm a huge. Funny enough, I was watching this morning the '60s Batman in Adam West. It's absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant, actually. It's hilarious, but it's brilliant. And I remember people always accuse it of just being camp. I watched that when I was a kid, and I absolutely loved it. To me, it was super cool. And the way that it's changed and moulded, of course, the Michael Gough is just extraordinary. He's all heart and love, and Michael takes that as well. But Michael has damaged past himself, which I found really interesting. I tried, to be honest, to stay away from as much as I could. Although I'm fully aware of them, I possess them all, I own them all anyway. I love them. I love all of them, to be honest, to a certain degree. And there comes a point where you have to develop your own Bible in your own life. And then I wrote my own Bible, which I presented to Bruno on the first day when we were shooting out in Long Island, and he liked it. And what I was very proud about is that our paths cross with the literary stuff that's been written since 1943. They were all elements that I ticked upon in my sort of approach to my Alfred. So I hope that the fans will see. You start to see detail of which is included in some of the early stories.
Tell us something key from what you put together.
Well, it's just symbols like concealment. This is something that concealment. Some of the early episodes, in some of the early comic books, he was an actor. Alfred was an actor, so he used to help. He taught Master Bruce how to ape language, so he could do a perfect impersonation of Bruce Wayne to pretend he was there before video screens and Skype. He used to answer the phone. But there was also things like the art of concealment, the art of concealing yourself by being an actor. Also the militaristic background, the fact that I'm a Marine, so the guys have given me my Marine knife. There's lots of little details you'll start to see. I don't really want to give too much away, because the great thing is shooting chronologically, you start to discover and it starts to unravel, as you do with Robin and with Ben and everyone like that.
Right, last question, guys.
So in what ways do you feel that Gotham as the show will stand apart in the Batman universe?
But the where it will stand apart is the city that molded these people. It's the city that enabled. I'm an enabler in many respects for Bruce to become the man he becomes. The city is responsible for it all. It starts with the big bang explosion of the Worths, the Waynes dying and being killed, and it's the fallout from there. It's the way the city creates these people, what drives them to put on or become the people that they become. So you just don't have to look back into the history of the stories. And this is his wealth. I mean, we've got 75 years to draw from.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.